I asked the school that it's very important that since we're in partnership, we are SmilingOne, and we have a partnership for over the 2 years now with the school, with the Ravensmead High School. And one of the key things that we do is that we are here to tackle student dropouts, and that whole aspect revolves around of a lot of factors. And one of the most important factors is that we need the teachers' help, right? And the thing is that many of the teachers did not get an opportunity to know what we are doing, why are we here. And I think it was just before lockdown, it was announced that we will be learner support for the school. And things got a bit shaky, so all of us were through apart, social distancing and all of that. But I wanted the teachers here so that we can inform, explain, and help to build a better relationship with the teachers. Yeah, we have 5 objectives, but there's 3 objectives directly related to the school, to the Ravensmead High School. And one of those objectives are light touch. We want to have light touch to improve school culture. And we're going to do it by having open dialogue. The second one is intensified personal development. And this is to tackle the learners' disengagement, because while I know that the teachers can amen to that, we sometimes find students being disengaged from class or from their subjects and so on and so on. The third one is that supports family relationships with learners. And I think that the song actually reflects all 3 that objectives coming together, because while we really were into our objectives, making sure that we catch what we can, making sure that we support, that we help, that we understand, and that we learn from the student. So firstly, I would like to tackle light touch. So light touch to improve school culture. I think that last year we found an amazing formula, and we do that by having exposure classes where we can really have open dialogue with the students. And the exposure classes was working beautiful, because why now we not only have those students who enroll in the process of the intensified personal development, we now have the whole school then, and then we get to see classes in exposure classes. So this is exposure class. So what is the challenges with you guys as students today? And many of the students then bring up a subject or a topic or a concept, and then we take that concept and we have an open dialogue about it. I want to know, so you are talking about girls, and do you guys have girls and boyfriends? And it makes it so much more personal and so much more relatable, because these are the challenges that the student goes through. Now they have a mouthpiece, now they have a word, and now they bring it in an environment that is going to be responsible discussion. No one is going to say no one's opinion and no one's idea or angle is not working. We're going to have an open dialogue about it. And it changed many aspects for the way the student thinks about the concept, topic, or subject. What worked very well was that the exposure classes was also a brilliant strategy for us to work with the army of support. Because now we have teachers now that since they class to the exposure classes, they're at the back of the containers. It was, I would have, if we have could have project, I would have shown you guys nice photos, but if you guys would like a peek at what we do at school, check out our Facebook page at The Responsible Individual. What also worked well is that the fact that the kids could go there or be in the exposure classes was the fact that that was a bit of a relief for the teachers, because why now you have a lot of students, you have teachers that are not here someday, you have teachers that can't get to their class in time, and then they could come to us for exposure classes. So it was also a relief in that factor where sometimes classes, teachers could not get to certain classes. The challenges that we had with that was that sometimes the students tells the teacher that this class needs to be there, the exposure, and it was not scheduled. And I want to thank Mrs. Lansberg, I want to thank Mrs. McCreel and Tia for the way they worked out the schedule each and every day, who or what exposure, what classes is going to come to the exposure classes today. So then because while we found out that we need to use that strategy by having a period table each day for exposure classes, because students now tells the teacher, no, we're not supposed to be here by you, we must be there in exposure classes. And then they were not scheduled. So that was something that we needed to figure out. I think that the exposure classes was such a brilliant space for the student, because I wish I could have illustrated to you guys. They did not just come to have exposure classes. They came to do their tasks. They came to, as if Mr. Figeland said, you guys' stuff needs to be in now. And the school is busy, and then they come to the class and Mr. Frank, we need to do our tasks, man. We need to do this project, we need to do this. And then they come there and they sit there and they do their school work also there. So that was amazing about the space. It was a safe, a quiet space for them to focus and to concentrate with the busyness of the school. I think that in the exposure classes, we built amazing trust. I remember when the tragedy happened of the little girl who was murdered, and the school had a memorial, and Mintulani came up to the front, and the students were like, wow, and they were clapping hands, and then Mr. Roma was like, whoa. Why didn't you guys clap when I was standing here? You guys clap because why? We built that trust with the student. We started to have conversations that matters.
Ik was voelvrij te spreken en niemand heeft mij handen getrokken.
Check in with him. How are you doing? How are things at home? Oh, so are you a bit nervous about exams? So then there was the building trust with the students. So now the students also understand that Mr. Frank and Tulani was here for them. In other words, were here, they could come to us. Mrs. Albertine would have been so proud. She had an issue with one of the students, and I had no idea. So the student comes to me, and the student's brother's here, the girlfriend is here, the niece is here, and I'm like, oh, so why are you guys here? And no, Mrs. Albertine, just tell us now. And I said, oh, so what did you guys do? Oh, so is that why? And I went to, and me and Mrs. Albertine, we worked nicely with him. And came lockdown, that two brothers were in our process. And I know Mrs. Albertine would have been proud to see them being part of their own development, you know. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what the exposure classes is about. Secondly, I would like to move to the Intensified Personal Development. This is the after-school classes. This is where students who apply to be part of the program, they come after school. They come to the back of the containers. We have a beautiful circle of sharing, and we work on their personal or the inner development. And what happened is that it just excelled, because while we moved from after school sessions to an after school club, because why they were I also wish I could have illustrated to you guys. After a while, we had shakes every afternoon. we had shakes there. They come and do their projects there, like I said. They love the environment, and if you guys could have just seen the pictures, that we had our other partners, our board members, volunteers coming to the school, and the students would embrace them. And I was thinking, it's such a different platform, because why? Yes, we are SmilingOne's project, or the after school club. It is recognized as inner development and personal development, because why? That's our key focus. But the students are having fun at the same time. It's not so serious, or they always tell me it's not so serious like academics, which I think is supposed to be serious, but they are having fun. They are enjoying their own development, you know. I think that the biggest challenge for this year was the lockdown. COVID-19 came along, and the students were no longer in school. So that made things a bit challenging to see the students for the after school club. We had to take the shakes away, because my students they were sharing cups, they were sharing utensils, and we couldn't do it anymore. The after school club, also when school opened again, it was a bit tricky, because my students had to invest a lot of focus into academic progress, because why they've lost a lot of the year. That was also another challenge, that we couldn't see them. I want to thank NT again for the amazing work she's done, because why she could announce the after school club students on the intercom, and then they would know today is my day. So that was something that worked well. And speaking about COVID-19 and how it was so impossible, I think that the blessing that COVID-19 brought for the intensified personal development was then we had an opportunity to focus then on the matriculants, or let me say this, the matriculants then took a chance to focus on us. Because why? The matriculants in this project is not our key focus, because why? We understand the intensive year they are going through in their final year. So we do not expect a lot from them to be part of the after school club, to be yes, they were a few times a part of the exposure classes. There were some of them who came for one-on-ones. But with them being here every day when school reopened, then they used that opportunity to come to the after school club, to come for sessions, and they could really release and share the challenges that they were going through. So that was just a turnover during COVID-19. The last objective I would like to speak about the family relationship for student support, the support in family relationship for the student. I think that we will also, if I can start off with the challenges first, we were also curbed during COVID-19 because we could no longer enter the families' homes. What we did do then is that we either had session outside in the yard, and thank you for the flats for having balconies, or either sit on the balcony and have a session. I think that our sessions with Roxanne was exceptional because we sit on the outside and just chat with each other. Yeah, so that was the strategies that we have to implement with the family support. You know, I think that if I can mention something that was significantly surfaced during the family support for the student, was the fact that there were many more parents now involved in the sessions when we came to see the student. And one of the, I would like to quote, but one of the key aspects that one of the parents mentioned was that you came and you had sessions with a session with my daughter. I could hear what she was talking about, and I never knew that she was going through that stuff. When you guys left, I felt that the session was for me, because why, in that same aspect what you guys discussed, I felt, why should I go and look for love outside of the house when there are so much love inside of the house? And that is one testimonial, but it surfaced during this year, that especially because why, it was mothers, it was fathers, it was grandparents, we had a session once with the student and a grandpa, and her grandpa just shared and talk about the whole history, showed us photos of of the years. So that's what really surfaced during the family support. I would like to ask Lynita and Roxanne just to say a few words. So that,
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lynita, and I've only become part of the project earlier this year, but at first, like I told Ms. Karina, I was nervous at first because I didn't know how everyone would accept me, what everyone would think about me, and Mr. Franklin just solved everything. You know, at first I came to Mr. Franklin as a whole stranger. Everyone was a stranger for me, including Mr. Franklin and Tulani. But later on we became a family, and I think that is what SmilingOne is all about. It's about becoming a family, loving one another, and caring for each other, and helping one another with each other's challenges. And SmilingOne helps you to find yourself in your challenges. It helps you to solve your problems and find exactly what it is what you are struggling with. And that is what SmilingOne is all about in a nutshell for me personally.
Okay. When I started the SmilingOne group, I didn't know everyone. I didn't even share my secrets with my mother, even though I feel sad, unhappy, and so. And when I started the SmilingOne group, I talked to Bradley. Bradley was my support system. He always asked me, how are you? Are you fine? And so I was in a relationship with a gangster, and I started the SmilingOne group, and Bradley learned me that I wasn't looking for love really. I was looking for someone to talk to about my feelings, how I felt, and all that stuff. And when I started the group, everything was off my shoulders, and I think I'm okay. Thank you.
and that's the magic that you guys create. I want to thank you guys for entrusting us with your guys' sharing, for giving us an opportunity, because I know it's quite challenging amongst the students to, so what is this person gonna do for me? What can this person do? And speaking about the students and understanding what we can do for them, that's where we need the teachers' help. I think that one of the most significant things, or the most magical things that happened this year, that we were not aware of, we knew that we were going to give it a shot for the teachers to have their own group, and I called it the TRI teachers, to have their own group. We always knew that we're going to have we're going to do this, give it a shot, but what came out of it was just magic. And I think that before students comes to us as SmilingOne, they are going to come to you guys, and they're going to ask you, so what is this about? Why is that person here? And I think that having you guys in the process was just a light, you know. Let me not speak any more about that. I would like Mr. Herbert, Mrs. Jaftha, Mr. Vigeland, and Mrs. Phillips to further on share more about the process during this year.
Okay. Frank posted a message on our group during the weekend, and so my answers to these questions is going to be very direct. So can I just read the 4 questions before I start? Just give me that opportunity. Let me find Frank here. Yes, Frank. So the 4 questions reads like this. The first one is, how was the program, the beginning and the highlights? Question number 2, what have you learned in the program? Question number 3, how is this beneficial to you as a teacher, and how does it impact the students? And the last question was, lastly, would you recommend the program to staff and other individuals? And my response is as follows. On question number 1, and this is a very honest feeling that I have in answering the question that Frank posted. My first answer is the program was very insightful and very educational. The highlight for me was when we get together as a group, where we could say one another's thoughts concerning whatever we went through during maybe a very difficult day, concerning the learners inside the classroom situation. At the end, we've learned a lot from one another, because we all have different ways in how we tackle our classroom situations. And when we got together, there was always different ways in how we educators deal with whatever we find ourselves in, handling a difficult learner within a classroom, where there's arguments. We could learn from one another how to tackle the situation in a much better way. Frank has this way of summing up the meeting in one, like I think it's Lynita, yes? She said he sums up everything in a nutshell, right? And you can or could go home, and if you faced a situation during the day, then there was always some kind of remedy within that nutshell you could take out from. Tomorrow you can come back, and then you can use that little bit of information that was put in there, and you could handle maybe a situation with the learner in a much better and easier way. So that was Frank's part in this whole get-together thing. On question number 2, very important, I've understand learners much better. You know, these learners come from different backgrounds, different situations, and we as educators do not always know what they go through. And when there's a problem in class, you just want to tackle that problem heads on, without understanding what was the situation at home, what did that learner go through. But Franklin, in our session as our group, Franklin said, also for our group, we could understand sometimes if there's a learner who's difficult in the class, then we could understand maybe that learner went through hell at home. And now he's coming here to school. We as educators also give him a bit of a difficult time in the classroom situation, and the learner exploded. And I as the educator exploded much in my earlier years. But now as an experienced educator for many years now, and with Frank's guidance that he gave us, I could understand to handle the situation in a much better way. Trying to be the fatherly figure that most of these learners don't have. Being more, what's the word that I'm looking for? What's die woord? Kan jy gou net Afrikaans so swaai om 'n bietjie meer verstaanbaar te wees, to be more understanding, but there's the other word that I was trying to use, but I don't get to that word now, maybe it will come later. Just to be more compassionate towards these learners, so that they can be more freely involved with getting into a discussion of what was or what is the problem, you know, to what maybe triggered that learner to act in a certain way. So that was on the question number 3. On question number 3, I've written this down. Sometimes we forget our different backgrounds, especially the learners. We as teachers do not understand where they're coming from. Learners go through so much, and sometimes our reactions to their bad behaviors can either contribute to them getting worse or to them getting better. If we have a better understanding, maybe we could help them to understand that it's not always through fighting, it's not always through having arguments that you will be able to get your point through to the other person. But I think understanding one another is most important here. And we as educators, I've learned that sometimes we as educators can also be very difficult. But here we've learned that sit back a little bit and listen to what the learner has to say. Maybe you will get a better insight to why that learner reacts in a certain way. I've also learned to understand myself as an educator. Sometimes we think we know it all, but when you sit down sometimes and you think about how you handled the classroom situation, then you realize, hey, but I was wrong, you know. And in my way trying to solve the situation, it only made the situation better because I've got this difficultness inside me. I'm right, I'm the educator, I know it all. But sometimes if we sit still and we give the learner the opportunity to communicate towards us, we could also learn from them. I've learned respect, kindness, and tolerance is the key factors to build a good relationship, whether it may be between colleagues, whether it may be between our learners as well. On question number 4, should I or will I recommend this to schools? Yes, most definitely, I will. I saw this, Frank and my lady here, every Wednesday when I had the time, and it was not always possible for us to attend this meeting, Frank, and I need to apologize for that because, especially now in the later days when we were very busy. But I saw this Wednesday meetings really as a place where I could just sit still and unwind and listen to what Frank has to say, listen to what my colleagues has to say. Sometimes it turned over not to what we experience with learners, but what we experience as adults in our personal lives. And with the way we chatted, we could learn from one another, and we could go back home. I could go and have a liquor talk with my wife, and I told her, listen, I had to sit down with my colleagues in this session, and we spoke about this, we spoke about that, and there were many true words spoken in that sessions, no? And it made me wiser in my relationship with my wife, and not only with that type of relationship, but with my relationship with my colleagues and with my relationships that I had with my learners as well. Right, we said many ideas there. We understand our learners now much better. We respect them. We heard different voices, and most important, what I really enjoyed in that classroom was that Frank for what he did for us in that session and what he did for the learners. It's really an opportunity where you had a very difficult day, maybe on a Wednesday. You could go back there and you could just, get all the weight that you had on your shoulder of the daily activity that went, you could just throw it away. Because you could, like I said earlier in my answering the questions, there's so much that Frank put it into that nutshell, but you could go home and you could take out some very specific thing that will help you to sort your own problem out. And that's why I recommend this for each and any individual in any school. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, colleagues, learners, Franklin and Karina. I would like to thank you for this opportunity that you've given us this year to be part of this program. I haven't prepared myself in English, so the switching of languages will be taking place. I'm just warning you. With regard to the first question, the program, I used to look at the children when they came from the program or they came from Bradley and now Franklin, and the way they went out was not the same way they came in. They were much more cheerful, they were happy, they seemed relieved and released from the stresses they carried with them. So I was wondering, because as adults we also carry those stresses with us, and we, even though we grown up, sometimes don't know how to deal with that. And I long to feel like those children or look like them when they came back. And when Franklin approached us, I definitely said, yes, you don't have to ask. I think I approached you first and said, Franklin, when are we going to have this answer? Okay, so I was extremely excited to be part of the sessions with Franklin. So at the start, I think many people will think, I don't need this program. I'm an adult. I'm talking about especially the adults now. What do I need to learn, or what can I learn now that I don't already know? But when you enter for the first time and you sit with Franklin and with your colleagues and you start to speak with Franklin, or you start, it's not speaking, it's more like, I would like to call it mining into yourself. That is what you're doing. And you're taking out stuff from yourself, things you didn't know existed within you, and it's like an epiphany. Things are happening now. I understand what's going on with me. And when you as an adult, as a teacher, feel better about yourself and you understand yourself much better, then you can be a much better teacher, because you have so much more understanding for the next person and for the learners as well. So the highlights for this year would be topics we spoke about was judgment, and many of us, we have that, not judgment necessarily towards others, but towards yourself. You're always judging yourself. That is why you don't want to do things. This is the longest I've spoken in English, I think, in front of people, and it doesn't feel so difficult, because I'm talking with people who understand and has been through us in a process of growing and understanding ourselves. So sitting in those groups and sitting next to the table where you see the people sitting at your table, and I didn't know this person is at my table. For the people who joined in, you know what I'm talking about. So that was really amazing. And I would like to encourage, I'm so not saddened, that is not a word I would like to use now, but I would love my fellow colleagues to be here. So I thank the others that have come to listen to us today, because being part of this program, it's life-changing. It changes your whole perspective about life and about teaching as a whole. And then about becoming a better teacher. I would like to repeat what Mr. Herbie said. He said you understand the learners better and you have more compassion for the learners, because now you realize or you understand better that when a learner swears at you or talks back at you or is rude or aggressive towards you, it's not actually towards you. It's the anger, the pain that comes from home. And it's not directed at you, but it's just that at that point, maybe it's too much. And you are there. And that used to happen to me when the child swore, and I would try to, how can you do that? Now I understand what you're going through. Relax, go out, and you don't hold those feelings against that person. We could have called you all the things under the sun, but you know it's not directed at you. And so the next time the child comes into your class, you don't hold grudges against the child. You treat him the same way you would treat him normally, or as the rest of the others. And then the last question, would I encourage other people to be part of this group? Most definitely yes. You can use me. I will go knock on doors for you. I will go and, I'm busy. It's close to harassment now. My colleagues, come, please come. So I don't know how to describe in words what this program has meant for me and for us as a group, especially the colleagues here sitting here today, Franklin and Karina. Thank you so much, and we look forward to next year. Thank you so much.
In a nutshell, I would like to say thank you for all of the teachers. It was an amazing year, and yes, Mr. Vigo, that is a record. That has been the shortest speech ever. And I learned also a lot from you guys. I would like to say not only you guys, but all of the teachers present also. I was mentioning that I take my hat off for you guys. You guys have a tough job, and you guys make it work. And I cannot expand how important your guys' work is, because while you guys are working with the future, you guys are busy developing the future. So it's a huge job, and you guys are doing an amazing job. So thank you so much. I would like us to speak about the added activity that's going to happen next year. Management, we did inform management, and they gave A4 away on the teachers' behalf. So next year, I would like us to continue, but I would also ask of you guys today, I don't even have to ask Mrs. Jaftha. Please be our mouthpiece and make sure that we get more teachers in the space, especially for the fact that I think that it can be only a benefit for your guys, for the school, for colleagues as individuals, for colleagues as a team, to develop and to grow together. I feel that the teachers that were involved have got a lot closer towards each other and their work environment. So it can only be a bonus for you guys as colleagues and as people who have this, as individuals who have the same focus, who has the same workload, who are heading in the same direction as Ravensmead High School. So please be a mouthpiece, and let us grow more in numbers next year. But thank you so much for this year. I'm going to invite Karina. She's going to speak about the added bonus that's going to happen next year. Karina?
I'm so touched, hey? It's amazing to hear how you're benefiting, and also how we're able to be agile in our program, because certainly, I mean, we didn't think about the element when we started the project to add the teachers into sessions, but there's no doubt that from learning from the project and the challenges that you have, that was really necessary and important. And I'm so glad to hear how committed you've been, what you've taken out, and you create that together. It cannot be created by one person. It's everybody coming together and creating that magic, and that the way you show up with the students. So what I want to say is that we keep learning from the process. We keep having our ear on the ground. What does the process call for now? And certainly, as we stand at the end of year 2 and we're having kind of our first batch, real batch of matriculants who have are to graduate and matriculate, but also have been a full year in process, and because of COVID-19, as Franklin explained, have been even more so into our process. Another thing we didn't really count on, because grade 12 is more, their focus is matric. So we've had the real pleasure of having them more intensified in process. So as we step into the new year, we thought it could be amazing to take a handful of these students, 2 boys or young men and 2 young women, that we're going to put into an accelerator with us, that are actually going to work hand in hand with Franklin as the change agents. And we're going to put them into a 3-month program before they start their next step on their career of education, equipping themselves more and educating themselves more, which is exciting. But to have a bridge, to really equip them and let them work hand in hand in the project. Okay, so these are our champions. And we're going to put them into an accelerated boot camp program that will be in February. In March, we're really going to fill the gaps when it comes to the TRI, to make sure that we've covered all the bases. Now here, this Wednesday and Thursday this week, we're going into a 2-day workshop with these 4 students and matriculants, together with Franklin and myself. And the first day, they're going to finish the TRI passport. So we're ready to take flight into the new year and say bye-bye 2020, thank you, with gratitude, because we learned a lot, even if it was a difficult year. Certainly we got closer to our matriculants, and that we really get into the next year with intention and with commitment, and that we say, I can grab the opportunity of my life, my career. And this is of course going to be like a pilot, because we haven't really done it before. I mean, we're very equipped in, of course, guiding processes, as you know, so we are going to learn alongside them as well. They'll be part of the exposure, really building culture. Of course, we still don't know, how is COVID going to be, in the first 3 months of the year. I'm sure it's not going to be easier. So we gotta tackle that as we go along with them, alongside with the teachers as well as our support and partner in education. So we're really excited. We're also paying them a small stipend, because they're actually going to help in the process. So that will be their first little job straight after matric. And it's also it's an acknowledgement of the incredible work that they have done, because it's tough, but to show up for the intensified process, to be a champion in the school environment, to help build the culture, is phenomenal. And imagine that they go out into life with that mindset and help build environments wherever they go. So I'm sure that the Accelerator Program is here to stay, that this will be our first batch, the first test and pilot. And then at the end of the next year, I'm sure we're going to do something similar. So we're growing as we go. And we will rely on you teachers, okay? So we'll be reaching out and helping, so that we set them up for a really good start. So we'll be able to tell much more about the program. You will get an overview, so that you also know exactly what's going to happen. We're actually building it together with them this week in our 2-day workshop. So we're very clear on what is the schedule going to be. And Franklin and I have also been talking a lot about what are the key ingredients in this program to really get them to take it up a notch into their lives. So that's just a little bit of intro into the Accelerator Program.
So that you guys support our accelerators next year. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.